Welcome back to Key News. My name is Algie Akin, and here's tonight's story. It's been a confusing 3 months for the investigators concerned with the disturbing disappearance of Milfred-Mumphrey. Police have been badly baffled and brutally befuddled by the extraordinary and abrupt, mysterious vanishing of the boys. Scotland Yard's finest have employed all their most advanced searching tactics to locate young Milfred. To no avail. No, to none.
Milfred! 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 Come back here this instant! I tell you I am a police officer! I'm going to count to 3, Milfred! 1, 2, 2.5, 3! I just don't understand. Where could he be?
Engelbert Newsmith joins us now.
Most citizens of Dorchester refuse to leave their homes for the fear that 7-year-old Milfred-Mumphrey still at large. This quaint village has been tainted by the supernatural. I have talked to some of the locals, and they seem to be of the same opinion.
Evil. The boy was evil. I mean, he is evil.
I am a skeptical man, but this event has spawned from something ungodly. I turn to the church now for relief. I'm scared of everything now, especially my children.
Some kind of black magic, I reckon.
After learning Milfred's past, it is hard not to have suspicions. Milfred was found on Mr. and Mrs. Gerald Barnum's doorstep one crisp November morning almost 8 years ago. Thinking the poor child had been abandoned by some family of financial crisis, being of the Christian persuasion, Mr. and Mrs. Barnum took pity on the little bundle of flesh and hoped to raise him as their own.
We knew he was a queer boy right from the start. It was like my daughter's prayers had been answered. She so badly wanted a child, and her husband, Gerald, the excuse of a man that he was an impotent, tiny, mousy little thing. I don't know what my daughter ever saw in him. My daughter took in that horrible little Milfred as soon as she did, and as soon as she did, strange, unexplainable things happened to that boy's development. He grew at an alarming rate.
By the age of 6 months, Milfred was upright and walking on his hind legs. When he was a year old, he could speak fluent English and was reading Poe. At age 3 years, he was 5 feet tall. The Barnums were perturbed, but unalarmed. They attributed his unnatural growth to the amount of meat the lad demanded and reportedly ate.
The boy only ate meat. He liked it best raw, so we just assumed he was of German descent, and we were not as perturbed as we should have been.
I'd get orders of up to 95 pounds of beef a week. I heard the boy was a crow, so it seemed only natural.
When Milfred was in his 4th year, his interests turned to the occult.
The boy was reading books on every church's blacklist. He became ominously quiet. Not that he ever talked much before. When he did speak, though, he spoke in snippets of Latin and broken English. Almost as if he were speaking in code.
Going through Milfred Library, one might become puzzled by his collections of books. Every prominent book on the black magic and occult could be found. Even books with a publishing date of the 1500s.
Some say Milfred was visited by a dark winged creature who's brought him his books and spent time with him, teaching him Latin, satanic rituals. One anxiously curious citizen of Dirtledore was so intrigued he stayed near Milfred's window with a camera, and the footage he documented should now be played for you.
Looking further into his collection of literature, one finds all kinds of queer books about the fourth dimension and how to transcend the third.
What was he learning? What was he
Preparing for.
Then his father disappeared. No one knows exactly what the fate of Mr. Barnum is. But a local farmer made a report of a dark, winged creature carrying a protesting Mr. Barnum through the motley woods near the Barnum house.
He was only 5 years old, but I became frightened of him. He had this stare. It bore through like he was searching into the darkest corners of your soul. He always looked happily displeased.
No one in Turtledore knows what happened to the next period of time. The Barnums didn't go to town, did not leave their home. Milfred was seen for an occasional walk trudging sloppily through the woods nearest his home.
No one else saw either of them anymore, but the orders of fresh meat grew something spectacular. Every week I had to get orders of up to 200 pounds of fresh meat from the Barnum house. They paid in ancient, funny-looking gold coins. What pure gold they was, I figured Miss Barnum was probably German too, so I didn't fret.
Milfred grew astoundingly as this age. He was now 6 feet tall. On his 7th birthday, he disappeared, leaving his mother in mental ruins and completely redundant within our society.
I don't have a son. I don't have a husband. All I had was he. The boy. That unholy, demonic monstrosity. The boy.
There was a loud crash coming from the Barnum house that night around 3 in the morning. The night the boy disappeared. Yep, remember that. A whole bunch of black light shot it from the house. All the dogs in that there county started barking at once. When a group of me and some other bull-hearted men went out and aided the younger boy, investigated in the morning.
When me and the rest of the posse burst into the Barnum house, we heard Mrs. Barnum yelling up a storm. You would have thought she'd been hogtied. House is all in order, except in Milfred's room. That's where Mrs. Barnum was lying sprawled out on the floor, yelling and crying. There was a circle of chalk, and there was blood everywhere. Blood on the walls, blood on the floor, and it smelled worse than the plague, too.
Something in that forsaken house made her mind snap. She is still my daughter, but she is a broken woman, pushed past insanity. She speaks insanely. I was forced to commit her to the asylum after Milfred vanished. Something in my daughter was pushed into an incomprehensible horror. Her soul remains pitted in this always present terror of her memory.
He went through the wall. Into the fourth dimension. Into the wall. Into the fourth dimension. And I saw him. Into the wall. Into the fourth dimension. And he's still here. He's still here. And he's waiting for us.